Real life after 80. 5. Brutal realities. Every senior must understand about aging loneliness. Did anyone ever truly convey the profound, often brutal truth about what life genuinely entails once you cross the threshold of 80? Stepping into your ninth decade initiates a quiet yet deeply transformative shift that very few people openly discuss or adequately prepare for. It's not about the superficial aspects like another birthday cake or the simple convenience of slower mornings. Rather, it's about the deeper, often unspoken and sometimes unsettling changes that permeate every facet of existence. This advanced stage of life becomes a rich tapestry woven with threads of profound wisdom and inevitable loss, moments of deep presence alongside growing distance, and the paradoxical coexistence of a profound inner peace, with at times a pervasive sense of loneliness. If one is not adequately prepared for some of these fundamental shifts, they possess the uncanny ability to catch individuals completely off guard, leaving them adrift and silently wondering, why did no one ever tell me about this? This exploration aims to walk through 5 truly brutal realities of life after 80, not with the intention to instill fear or cast a shadow of depression, but to offer a clear, unvarnished perspective. Because when these looming truths are seen for what they are, when their contours become clear on the horizon, one is no longer merely at their mercy. Instead, there's an opportunity to consciously prepare for them, to meet them with an unyielding inner strength, rather than being blindsided by surprise. We will delve into the phenomenon of social circles that gradually shrink, the undeniable reality of a body that simply does not recover with the same resilience it once did, the often uncomfortable but creeping dependence that becomes necessary even when it chafes against a lifetime of self-reliance. We'll also confront the quiet, almost imperceptible way society begins to overlook those in their later years, and that peculiar, persistent ache that surfaces when old regrets collide with the abundance of time and a diminishing sense of immediate purpose. It is imperative to stay with us until the very end, for while some of these truths might feel undeniably heavy, they simultaneously open the door to something immensely powerful: the profound liberation of acceptance, the enduring spirit of resilience, and a singular, invaluable chance to shape the final, meaningful stretch of life with the kind of dignity and self-determination that no one else has the right to define but you. Let us now engage in an honest dialogue about what truly unfolds after 80 and, more importantly, how one can navigate this intricate journey with open eyes, steady hands, and one's head held high, maintaining an unwavering sense of self. One of the most immediate and profoundly impactful realities that often strikes individuals after the age of 80 is not a physical one, but rather a deeply relational shift: the quiet disappearance of one's social circle. The vibrant tapestry of individuals who once filled one's world, forming the bedrock of daily interactions and shared experiences, begins to subtly unravel and fade, often without any dramatic warning. Cherished friends with whom countless memories were forged eventually pass on. Familiar neighbors who were once just a fence line away relocate to new towns or care facilities. Beloved siblings with whom a lifetime of history was shared grow quieter, their interactions less frequent, their voices softer or more distant. Even longtime companions who reliably initiated weekly calls or visits find those intervals stretching, becoming monthly or even less frequent engagements. This phenomenon is rarely personal in its intent. It is simply the relentless march of time, a natural consequence of longevity. Yet its effect is undeniably profound, leaving behind a space that can feel deeply hollowed out, irrespective of an individual's inherent strength or lifelong independence. One might wake up one morning and notice with a subtle pang that the phone, once a constant source of connection, now rings with far less frequency. The invitations to social gatherings, which once populated the calendar, dwindled to a precious few. Even family visits, while still cherished, grow shorter, more rushed, often squeezed between the demanding schedules of younger generations. Those who love you still do, of course, but their lives are full, busy with work, distracted by their own responsibilities, or grappling with the unique challenges of their own stages of aging in different ways. And so, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the everyday interactions that once infused life with a rich chorus of voices, shared laughter, and reciprocal engagement begin to thin out, leaving behind a quieter, sometimes starker, existence. This specific reality is rarely, if ever, something anyone truly prepares you for in the earlier decades. In one's 60s and even 70s, most peers and connections are still present and active. There's a palpable energy, a sense of ongoing movement, and a constant flow of check-ins and shared activities. But after 80, a distinct and often stark shift occurs. One begins to outlive a significant number of their contemporaries. Conversations and shared cultural references, once easily understood, can feel increasingly out of sync with younger generations, leading to a subtle feeling of being outpaced. And this shift is incredibly quiet, so quiet that, at its initial onset, one might not even consciously register its profound happening. Consider the poignant experience of Walter, an 84-year-old gentleman I knew, who had for years maintained a comforting daily ritual of visiting the same neighborhood coffee shop every morning. The familiar baristas knew his preferred order without him uttering a word. His friends would spontaneously join him there, their presence a given, negating the need for any preliminary text messages or arrangements. It was a well-established, comforting rhythm. But as the months and years passed, those familiar faces began to dwindle. Some of his friends sadly passed away. Others moved to be closer to family or into assisted living. Still others simply stopped driving, losing their independent mobility. One day, with a reflective sigh, Walter confessed to me, "It's a strange and quiet sadness to walk into a place where everyone used to know your name, and now you're just the man in the corner booth." The pain associated with this particular form of loneliness isn't always overt or dramatically expressed. It doesn't always manifest in loud sobs or outwardly visible grief. Sometimes it's simply a prolonged, almost aching silence that settles after a solitary dinner, or the way a familiar walk through the neighborhood feels a little too quiet, devoid of the chance encounters it once held. It is the subtle yet profound realization that the precious list of individuals who truly know you, who understand your history, your quirks, your deepest self, is steadily shrinking, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing one can do to halt this natural progression. Yet critically, knowing this reality in advance bestows a powerful advantage. It means you can actively choose to do something about it. You can consciously open new doors, even as others are gently closing. You can proactively seek to stay connected on your own terms, whether that involves joining a new church group, initiating a weekly lunch with a new acquaintance, making that phone call yourself, or even taking the time to write a heartfelt letter. Because after 80, meaningful connection doesn't simply arrive at your doorstep with the same ease it once did. You have to actively go out and seek it, to cultivate it with intention. And that undeniably takes a significant amount of courage. But having navigated 8 decades of life, having faced myriad challenges and triumphs, you have already accumulated an immense reserve of that very courage within you. It is a strength born of lived experience, waiting to be drawn upon. By the time one gracefully reaches the age of 80, the body ceases to communicate in whispers. It begins to speak with a clear, undeniable voice. Those minor aches and pains that once appeared transiently, fleeting after a good night's sleep, now tend to linger, establishing a more persistent presence. The fatigue that once dissipated after a brief nap can now stretch its tendrils, extending its hold well into the following day, sometimes for longer. And perhaps the most startling truth, one that frequently catches individuals off guard, is this. After 80, even seemingly minor health problems or incidental mishaps possess the potent capacity to fundamentally alter one's life, sometimes literally overnight. You might awaken feeling perfectly fine, embark on your daily routine with a sense of normalcy, and yet, by evening, something feels subtly but distinctly off. Perhaps it's a momentary spell of dizziness that wasn't there before, a leg that suddenly feels unexpectedly sore, or a persistent cough that stubbornly refuses to depart as quickly as anticipated. And then, with an almost jarring abruptness, you find yourself situated in a waiting room, absorbing clinical terms like monitoring, imaging, or the potentially unnerving phrase, possible admission. What, in previous decades, might have been effortlessly brushed off with a period of simple rest or a minor adjustment, now unequivocally demands comprehensive attention, and often, tragically, there is no simple going back to the way things were before. The profound difficulty of this particular stage of life isn't solely rooted in the physical pain or discomfort. it is significantly amplified by its inherent unpredictability. One can diligently do everything right, maintaining a healthy diet, engaging in gentle, consistent movement, ensuring adequate sleep, and yet still experience the disconcerting sensation that one's own body is constantly one step ahead, making autonomous decisions to which one has not consciously agreed. A seemingly innocuous misstep on the stairs, for instance, can unexpectedly precipitate weeks or even months of arduous recovery. A simple stomach bug, which younger individuals might shake off in a day or two, can drain one's energy reserves for an extended period, leaving a lingering sense of weakness. And even when a full recovery is achieved, the previous baseline often remains elusive. One's balance might feel subtly but persistently off. The act of breathing might suddenly demand a more conscious effort, and that innate bounce-back capacity is undeniably diminished. Consider the compelling case of Gloria, an 81-year-old woman I encountered, whose mind was exceptionally sharp, whose spirit was wonderfully active, and who took immense pride in her unwavering independence. She found immense joy in tending to her meticulously kept backyard garden, relished her daily walks through the neighborhood, and remained deeply engaged with her cherished book club. However, a seemingly minor fall while trimming a rose bush irrevocably altered her trajectory. It wasn't just the initial injury, she recounted with a thoughtful gaze. It was the profound aftermath. Weeks of mandated rest slowly bled into months of significantly reduced strength. My confidence, which had always been so robust, began to slip away, almost imperceptibly. She paused, reflecting. I genuinely thought I was just taking a brief break, a necessary pause, but my body, she emphasized, my body treated it like a full, irrevocable stop. That, she pointed out, is the crucial part no one explicitly tells you. At 80, the nature of rest itself transforms. It is not always inherently restorative in the same dynamic way it once was. Paradoxically, if not carefully managed and supported, it can inadvertently morph into a gentle yet insidious decline. And sometimes, even when every conceivable precaution is meticulously taken, one's body simply decides, on its own terms, to slow down anyway. It is in these moments that the profound realization dawns. You are no longer bouncing back. Instead, you are adapting forward. However, it is precisely in the knowing of this reality that immense strength can be found. One begins to honor their finite energy reserves with far greater wisdom and intentionality. You learn to pace yourself, not out of fear or resignation, but out of a deep, abiding respect for the incredible journey your body has already carried you through. You learn to treat health not as a given guarantee, but as a sacred daily practice, an ongoing commitment. And when you embrace this new perspective, even if the youthful bounce is undeniably diminished, your footing becomes immeasurably steadier. You might walk at a slower pace, but you do so with heightened awareness. You might rest for longer durations, but you do so with far greater intention and purpose. And gradually, you begin to perceive that even a body that has slowed its pace can still, most assuredly, carry an exceptionally strong and vibrant spirit. Regardless of how fiercely independent one has always been, one of the most challenging truths to genuinely accept after the age of 80 is this. You will gradually and often subtly begin to need help for tasks and activities you once executed without a second thought. This shift is rarely instantaneous or dramatic. Instead, it creeps in quietly with a gentle insidiousness until one day you become acutely aware of its pervasive presence. You might find yourself instinctively avoiding those high cabinets in the kitchen, or perhaps you notice that your grip on the stair railing has become just a little tighter, a little more reliant. There's a nascent hesitation that emerges before you get behind the wheel, particularly on a rainy day, where once there was none. And even though a resilient part of you still vehemently feels capable and self-sufficient, another more pragmatic part quietly acknowledges that certain things simply aren't as effortless or safe as they once were. What makes this particular reality so profoundly difficult isn't merely the physical adaptation. It is the deep-seated emotional transformation it demands. For those who have lived countless decades in the role of caregiver, provider, or the dependable one, the very notion of transitioning into a position where one needs help can feel deeply uncomfortable, even fundamentally challenging to one's self-identity. It is not uncommon to experience nascent feelings of being a burden to loved ones. Or conversely, one might begin to covertly hide perceived limitations. Skipping a necessary grocery trip because of the heavy bags, deliberately omitting details about a recent stumble to one's children, or stubbornly attempting to change a light bulb on one's own, even though a persistent shoulder pain has been a quiet companion for weeks. The profound desire to maintain independence does not simply vanish with age. If anything, it often grows stronger, becoming a more potent force. However, the essential truth is that independence after 80 takes on a distinctly different form than it did at 60, or even 70. It is no longer about the rigid adherence to doing absolutely everything by oneself. Rather, it transforms into the wisdom of discerning precisely when to ask for help, and, perhaps even more importantly, possessing the profound courage to graciously accept it. Consider the compelling narrative of Eugene, an 85-year-old man who, throughout his life, prided himself on his unwavering self-reliance. He had endured the hardships of war, successfully raised 4 thriving children, and, with nothing but spare wood and sheer determination, had even constructed his own sturdy shed in the backyard. Yet, one particularly icy winter, he suffered a slip on his driveway. No bones were broken, fortunately, but his pride, his deeply ingrained sense of self-sufficiency, was undeniably bruised. He initially told no one of the incident. However, his astute daughter, observing subtle changes, instinctively sensed that something was amiss. She began appearing once a week, ostensibly to bring groceries, but always making sure to stay for coffee. At first, Eugene, true to his nature, resisted her overtures. "I'm perfectly fine," he would frequently assert, a subtle edge to his voice. But over the ensuing weeks and months, that ritualistic coffee visit gradually became an anticipated, comforting part of his routine. And eventually, in a moment of unexpected vulnerability, he admitted something that surprised even himself. It's actually nice, not having to carry everything alone. That precisely is the profound shift. It is not a capitulation to weakness. It is, in fact, a testament to growing wisdom. It is the understanding that accepting a helping hand is not a loss of independence, but rather a strategic and courageous way of actively protecting and extending it. Because when you graciously allow someone to assist you in climbing the stairs, or to drive you safely to a doctor's appointment, or to carry that unexpectedly heavy bag, you are in essence gifting yourself more years, more quality years, of being able to engage in the activities and connections that truly matter most to you. Moreover, not all help needs to originate from other people. It can manifest in the form of practical, thoughtful adaptations. A strategically placed grab bar in the shower, a sturdy stool in the kitchen to alleviate strain, a simple yet effective reminder note affixed to the refrigerator. These small, practical supports do not in any way diminish your inherent dignity. On the contrary, they actively preserve it, empowering you to maintain autonomy within new parameters. After 80, the single bravest and most empowering thing you can utter might just be, "I could really use a hand." Because the deeper you journey into advanced age, the greater strength you undeniably demonstrate by choosing fundamental safety over stubborn pride, by prioritizing inner peace over relentless struggle, and by embracing the warmth of connection over the cold isolation of absolute self-reliance. One of the more profoundly painful and often unspoken realities of life, after 80 transcends the physical changes in your body or the occasional lapses in memory. It is instead about the subtle yet pervasive erosion of your presence in the broader world. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to experience a disconcerting sense of invisibility. This isn't necessarily directed by the people who love and cherish you deeply, who still see your essence. Rather, it manifests in interactions with the world at large, with society's faster, more youth-centric currents. The cashier at the grocery store might inadvertently look past you, addressing their comments or questions directly to the person standing behind you in line. A doctor, when discussing your health concerns, might direct their gaze and explanations primarily towards your adult child, rather than engaging directly with you, the patient. The server in a bustling restaurant might, with an unconscious assumption, conclude that you cannot hear clearly, think critically, or make your own choices bypassing your input entirely. These instances begin subtly as isolated occurrences, but gradually they become more frequent, creating a pattern. And even if one attempts to brush off these slights with a practiced indifference, they inevitably land somewhere deep within, leaving a quiet, persistent sting. This happens because, irrespective of our age, there remains a fundamental human need to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard. And when you have lived a full, rich life, having dedicated years to work, having lovingly raised a family, having made countless difficult decisions, having weathered innumerable storms and celebrated countless joys, it is undeniably jarring, even profoundly dismissive, to feel overlooked or brushed aside simply because your skin bears the creases of time or your hair has turned to a distinguished silver. What exacerbates this particular hurt is that it is rarely, if ever, inflicted with malicious intent. It is more often a byproduct of a fast-paced world that, in its relentless rush, forgets that slow, deliberate steps often carry the weight of profound stories. It stems from a society increasingly obsessed with youth and immediate utility, forgetting the sheer strength, resilience, and wisdom it took to simply reach this advanced age. And unless you find the inner fortitude to speak up, to assert your presence, you risk unwittingly shrinking, becoming smaller in your own perceived space. This isn't because you have lost your voice, but because the broader world, in its haste, often ceases to actively listen. I vividly recall the experience of Irene, an 86-year-old woman who dedicated her time as a volunteer at a local history museum. One afternoon, a visitor posed a question to the paid staff about a particular decade of history, a decade that Irene herself had lived through, whose nuances she could have eloquently articulated in her sleep. Yet the question and the staff's subsequent response bypassed her entirely. When I later inquired how she felt about this oversight, she merely offered a gentle, somewhat practiced smile and remarked, "Oh, I'm used to it." But there was an unmistakable undercurrent of sadness. In that smile, a quiet resignation. It was the kind of sadness that emanates from being subtly yet profoundly seen as a piece of the furniture, a static fixture in the background, rather than a living, breathing fire full of warmth, light, and vibrant energy. But it is crucial to remember you are not furniture. You are not merely background scenery in the grand theater of life. You are unequivocally still here, still actively thinking, still deeply feeling, still possessing the capacity to contribute. And just because the world, in its frenetic pace, sometimes forgets to acknowledge this, that does not in any way mean you have to forget it yourself. So, what can one do in the face of this insidious invisibility? You speak anyway. You assertively ask the questions that arise in your mind. You confidently offer your well-considered opinions, born of decades of experience. You vote, making your civic presence felt. You share your invaluable stories, your personal anecdotes, your historical insights, even when no one explicitly asked for them. You stand up, even if your knees might wobble just a little, metaphorically and literally. Because every single time you consciously claim your rightful space in the room, you are not only reminding the world, but more importantly, you are reminding yourself that you are not done yet. You are not invisible. You are, in essence, a living, breathing library, a direct witness to the unfolding of time, a voice that still matters with profound significance. And you do not need to shout to be heard. You simply have to refuse with quiet dignity to disappear. As one journeys deeper into their 80s, a distinct, almost palpable quietude often settles in. This quietness isn't confined merely to the physical space of one's home or the increasingly sparse entries in one's schedule. It also permeates the inner landscape of the self. Life undeniably slows its frenetic pace. The once bustling calendar, a testament to ceaseless activity, is no longer as densely packed. And with this deceleration comes an abundance of space. Space to reflect deeply, to remember vividly, to replay moments and decisions from a lifetime lived. This introspection can, at its best, be a profoundly beautiful and enriching experience, a time for quiet contemplation and appreciation. However, if one is not mindful, this ample space can subtly transform into something heavy, a quiet burden. Not the loud, dramatic kind of regret that manifests in angry outbursts or visible despair, but a more insidious, quiet kind. It's the persistent echo of, "I wish I'd spent more time with them," that reverberates in the stillness. It's the nagging question of, why didn't I take that chance when I had it? It's the kind of ache that materializes when you finally possess the luxury of time, but no longer always possess the requisite energy or the unburdened freedom to pursue the very things you once indefinitely postponed. This particular facet of aging is rarely a topic of open discussion. As a society, we readily celebrate the accumulated wisdom that comes with age, the perceived freedom of retirement, the unadulterated joy of grandchildren. And all of these positive aspects are undeniably real and profoundly cherished. Yet so too is the lingering, often unspoken question that quietly asserts itself in the background. What now? If one has dedicated an entire lifetime to working diligently, to giving generously, to running ceaselessly, to raising a family with devotion, to serving others tirelessly, and then, abruptly, that active phase of life significantly slows or even ceases, it can leave a disconcerting void, a feeling that one's very purpose is fading alongside the diminishing activity. I vividly recall a man named Stanley, at 88 years old, who had dedicated over 4 decades of his life to the noble profession of teaching. After his retirement, he felt, understandably, a profound sense of pride in his long service, but also surprisingly a peculiar hollowness. "No one needs me anymore," he once lamented, his voice tinged with a quiet sadness. But that fundamentally wasn't true. He simply hadn't yet discovered or embraced a new, evolved way to be needed, to contribute meaningfully. Because purpose, true purpose, does not retire, it merely changes shape, adapts its form. Perhaps you no longer possess the physical capacity to build houses, but you possess the invaluable ability to build confidence and nurture the spirits of your great-grandchildren with your captivating stories and sage advice. Perhaps you no longer lead important corporate meetings, but you lead with a profound, comforting presence when someone in your circle is grappling with grief, offering silent support and empathetic understanding. Perhaps you no longer directly solve monumental societal problems, but you possess the profound ability to solve the pervasive loneliness of a neighbor with a simple, genuine smile and a few kind words. The true danger of regret isn't that you have, inevitably, made mistakes in life, for we all have. It is an intrinsic part of the human condition. The greater danger lies in allowing oneself to sit in those regrets for too long, without actively striving to transform them into something meaningful, something that fosters growth and understanding. But when you consciously choose to redefine purpose, not solely as tangible productivity or external achievement, but as deeply engaged presence, you begin to realize with a profound sense of revelation that you still possess so much invaluable wisdom and light to give, not only to others, but crucially to your own evolving self. Because the most significant and deeply fulfilling work you will undertake after 80 may not be for the sake of an external legacy or for the validation of applause. It may instead be this: waking each day with an abiding kindness in your heart, with an insatiable curiosity shining in your eyes, and with just enough gentle courage to ask yourself, how can I bring a flicker of light into the world today, even if it's just a small, quiet spark? That truly is not regret. That is, in its purest form, redemption. And it is unequivocally never too late to find it, to embrace it, and to live it. Reaching your 80s is, by any measure, an extraordinary accomplishment, a profound testament to a life deeply lived. It stands as a significant landmark, meticulously built upon decades of profound love and inevitable loss, sustained effort and continuous change, and an unwavering inherent resilience that has carried you through every season. Yet, hand in hand with this immense strength and this rich tapestry of experience come new challenges, new realities to confront. Some of these are subtle, almost imperceptible shifts that subtly alter the landscape of daily life, while others are undeniably stark and hard to ignore, demanding immediate attention. And facing these raw, honest realities does not, in any conceivable way, diminish your strength. On the contrary, it elevates your honesty, your integrity, and your profound capacity for self-awareness. It signifies that you have lived long enough, experienced enough, to truly see life for what it inherently is: unpredictable in its unfolding, sometimes undeniably unfair in its allocations, yet still profoundly, unequivocally worth showing up for, worth engaging with every ounce of your being. So, as you reflect on these candid observations, which of these 5 brutal realities truly resonated with you the most, striking a chord deep within your own experiences or anticipations? Was it the quiet, almost echoing silence that descends when the once vibrant landscape of your social world begins, inexorably to shrink? Was it the creeping frustration and quiet despair of a body that simply no longer recovers with the same tenacious vigor it once commanded, leaving you to adapt rather than rebound? Could it have been the profound discomfort and emotional challenge of needing to ask for help, after having spent a lifetime in the esteemed and often demanding role of the helper, the provider, the anchor for others? Or perhaps it was the unsettling sensation of invisibility, that quiet dismissal that arises when the world, in its relentless acceleration, moves too fast to truly see and acknowledge your profound presence and wisdom. Or finally, was it the subtle, persistent ache that quietly grows within when your once clearly defined purpose, the very engine of your being, seems to waver and become less distinct, demanding a thoughtful redefinition? Whatever its specific manifestation, my earnest hope is that through these words you felt profoundly seen, deeply understood, and truly acknowledged. Because the unwavering truth is this: you are absolutely not alone in any of these experiences. Not in the gradual slowing down that life demands, not in the moments of subtle forgetting that can sometimes bring frustration, not in the profound questions that occasionally keep you awake in the quiet hours of the night, nor in the contemplative moments that inspire you to wonder what profound experiences come next on this journey. And here, nestled within these honest truths, lies the profoundly good news, the empowering revelation. Even now, even at this advanced and often complex stage of life, you retain the fundamental power of choice. You can consciously choose to cultivate new connections, to foster existing ones with renewed intention. You can choose to honor your body's need for restorative rest, prioritizing peace over relentless activity. You can choose with grace and courage to ask for help when it is genuinely needed, understanding it as a strength, not a weakness. You can choose to speak a little louder, to assert your presence more firmly when someone inadvertently overlooks you, and conversely to speak softer, to offer a gentler presence when someone else is in profound need of your grace and understanding. You can choose to extend forgiveness to yourself for the things that, in retrospect, didn't quite happen or unfold as you once envisioned. And simultaneously, you can choose to honor yourself deeply for all the extraordinary things that did indeed come to pass, shaping the incredible individual you are today. This current chapter of your life is emphatically not the end of your story. Instead, it is the deeply profound, intensely meaningful heart of the narrative. It is the part where every single word, every gesture, every interaction carries an immense weight of wisdom and significance. It is the part where small, genuine gestures of kindness and connection resonate with more power and meaning than the grandest ones ever could. It is the part where your unwavering presence, your profound patience, and your invaluable hard-won perspective collectively become your most potent and enduring power, illuminating the path forward.